Okay, so a very official welcome to all of you. Great to have you here. We've got Jamie Smart and Emma McDevitt, and they are going to be talking to the life your heart knows is possible. I've been looking forward to this. Jamie and Emma say they've been looking forward to this for a while. I love the topic. And this is a taster, if you like, of an upcoming retreat that Jamie and Emma will be leading here where I live in Spain in September, a 4-day retreat, and then there'll be a 1-day deep dive. And we did this last year. We had a 4-day retreat, we had a 1-day deep dive, and I love organizing these events here where I live in Albania in Spain. Very selfish on my part because I get to sit in on everything that I organize and I get to experience all these amazing coaches, mentors, trainers, teachers. And I have to say, it was the first retreat that I've ever been on with Emma and Jamie together. And I talk about them as being the perfect combo. I don't know what that means to you, but for me, it means they balance each other out wonderfully. There's a really great sense of humor between them. So having them sitting at the front of the room, one will speak, the other one will go, well, this is how I see it. And I just love that we get the feminine and the masculine as well. It was wonderful. And the 4 days in a very small group, it was beautiful. I know there's somebody's here that was in that on that retreat. It filled me up. That's all I can say about it. And my heart was full by day 4. And then we moved into the deep day on day 5. And I rocked up that morning. I was like, I have no idea what else I can fit in and what more could possibly happen. And to my surprise, when we were asked to go explore in partners, what would you like to take away from the day? This desire came through me. I had no idea this was going to happen, but that I would love to live in a state of appreciation 24/7. And I knew that was grandiose, like 24/7 living in a state of appreciation. But it was like, yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. Well, just to cut a story very short, Jamie asked me a question. Don't know what that question was. Completely disrupted something within me, but created an image that has stayed with me since the retreat that showed me the limitation I put on total appreciation. And I can't, hand on heart, I can't say, oh, I live in a state of appreciation 24/7. I don't. But I know that I live in a state of appreciation far more from having seen what I saw on that retreat. It definitely, it changed something in the way I see the world. And when limitation comes up, it shows me the freedom that I have to choose something different. So I am very, very grateful that I was able to be there and had no idea that was going to happen for me. And the knock-on effect has definitely been with me since then. Who knows how it's gonna pan out for the rest of my life. And I'm excited to see how that unfolds. And I remember saying that at the end of the retreat, just the excitement to see how it unfolds was as we live from our heart and live from our heart nudges, and that's what's been happening for me. So I'm very, very happy to have Jamie and Emma here again today, and I'm super excited to have them on retreat again in September. And if anybody doesn't know who Jamie and Emma are, I imagine that you all do, but so Jamie, just as an official intro, is a best-selling author, a trainer, an executive coach, and Emma is a coach, a trainer, and a change worker. So I'm very, very happy and privileged, I feel, to hand over to Emma and Jamie, and I'm really looking forward to what they've got to share with us today. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Sheila. And I just loved hearing what touched you at last year's retreat. It's funny, I was working with a client today, and he and I did an intensive a year ago. And in our call today, he was saying he was reminded of the beautiful space that we touched during that intensive. and he's created all kinds of things in his business and his life and stuff since then. But I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's because you touched that space then that you're experiencing what you're experiencing now. You know, I heard a Sid Banks recording where he said, if you touch that place within, that quiet within, even for a moment, it has to bring beauty into your life. Because as far as I'm concerned, that what we sometimes describe as that beautiful feeling, it's what it feels like to be you, free from your fears and insecurities and conditioning. But we all have that stuff. So anyway, yeah, it was just lovely to hear your introduction, Sheila. Thank you. And we in the page for this session, we asked some questions, and Emma and I were having a chat this morning about what we were going to be doing and what to cover and that sort of thing. And I was rereading the copy, and I came to the first question, which was, is it really possible to create the life your heart longs for while staying grounded in a beautiful feeling? And to me, the answer to that question has to be yes and no. Yes and no. So I thought that might be an interesting place to start. Good morning, Emma McDevitt, or good afternoon, I should say. Anything to say so far? Oh, actually, one last thing before I do. Sheila mentioned our great sense of humor together. Typically, when someone mentions how funny you are, that's the end of anything funny for at least an hour. So I just wanted to put a warning out there.
Yeah, don't expect any laughs in
Yeah,
this
any
hour.
laughs are by accident.
Then you're less likely to go away disappointed.
Yeah.
Just to say, thank you for that beautiful introduction, Sheila, and I loved hearing about what you saw and what's been playing out for you since. And just to say hello to everyone, it's lovely to see so many familiar faces that I'm very fond of, and lovely to see new faces too.
Yeah.
In terms of the question, is it really possible? Yeah, I've got some thoughts too, but do you want to kick off, Jamie?
Well, you know, sure. When we were discussing it this morning, the image that came to mind for me is, and this is just a way of thinking about it. I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but I know for a lot of people, like I've asked a lot of people about their experience with the principles, and for a lot of people, their first impact was kind of, wow, why doesn't everyone know this? Because how I envisaged it is, it's for a lot of people, it's like they've been swimming for for years and they're knackered and tired and it's draining and that sort of thing. And then they come across a little desert island and they get on the desert island. The desert island is the principles, and they're like, oh, this is lovely. It's so nice. Brilliant, brilliant. Oh, thank God this is here. Why doesn't everyone know this? It's so wonderful and that sort of thing. But the only problem with the desert island is it's really small. It's really small, but it was so tiring doing all that swimming that they don't want to jump back into the water again. But the thing you discover if you explore is that the water is only 3 feet deep. It's only 3 feet deep. And I see a lot of people who are so grateful. Yeah, just so grateful for the beautiful feeling and for the connection and all that sort of stuff, that they don't want to do anything that could possibly put it at risk. And yet, if these be principles, which I'm pretty sure they are, then one of the most valuable things that you can discover is that who you really are is always there. The Buddhists say closer than your jugular.
The Sufis.
The Sufis say that too. It's a small world. These memes get around.
I never heard a Buddhist say it.
Oh yeah, the Buddhists, they're always saying that. They love it. You'll discover that I am uh, uh, often wrong, but rarely uncertain. Over to you, McDevitt, you big Sufi.
Um, yeah, picking up from what you said about the island, or when we were talking about it this morning, you used the phrase of it's almost like, it can be coming across the principles, can almost like be like having been treading water and kind of working really hard to stay afloat. And then finding kind of a rock in the sea and kind of clinging onto it for dear life, because it's the first sort of solid ground we might have experienced, being able to get hold of or stand on for a while. And actually, you know, we can spend all of our time trying to stay within touching distance of that rock, or we can kind of set off into the ocean again and discover that the rock that's pointing up above the water is actually just the tip of an island that's been beneath our feet the whole time. Mm-hmm. And in relation to that question, do you have it to hand, Jamie, or shall I find it?
I do. Here, there it is. I'll pop it into the chat as well.
Is it really possible to create the life your heart longs for while staying in grounded in a beautiful feeling? Well, it seems to me that that if you would you make that go away now?
I will.
Thank you.
Be gone.
I don't want to look at the slide. It seems to me that that finding that beautiful feeling, like, which to me is kind of like touching the truth of your being, like touching the ground of your being. To me, it's like it's the most important part of it, because when we're in touch with that truth of who we really are, then we have, it seems to me, it's like being plugged into life. It's like we have access to what it is that life has in mind for us, what life wants for us. And so we're in that when we're in that beautiful space, we're gifted glimpses of what it is we feel most truly called to be or to bring into being. And we can trust that. Like if we were to create from somewhere else, then whatever friction or insecurity or whatever is informing our desires, it'll inevitably become, it'll be bound up in our creations too. So it seems to me that the fact that everyone on this call has touched that beautiful space means you're onto something. Like whatever you've seen, whatever you felt called towards, you can trust it. So that's the first thing. Like in a way, it looks to me like you're 90% of the way there when you've got that far. It's just that the last 10% can be quite tricky.
Can be a bit sticky, can't
It can
it?
be a bit sticky. One of the metaphors that I tend to use that I tried to share with Jamie this morning, but did an absolute botch job of.
Brutal.
Shaking his head.
I'm just joking. I think it's quite brilliant, actually.
Now you've oversold it.
Oh God, me and my big mouth.
Sorry, I just need to cough. Just bear with me a second. Got a bit of a summer cold. The way I often think about it is, and this is just another way of looking at it from the kind of island metaphor Jamie described before, is that if you imagine you've lived your whole life within the walls of a house, and sorry, I'm going to have to do it again.
I'd pick up on the metaphor, but Emma does a much better job of it than I do.
You haven't tried yet, but
That's true.
I should be all right for a bit now. Yeah, if you imagine you've lived your life within the walls of a house, and that house is made of your habitual perceptual reality, all the walkways, ones you've walked over and over again, all the rooms are ones you've looked in before. It contains all the stuff that frustrates you, all the patterns that keep coming up over and over again, all that sort of stuff. But it's also comfortable, you know it, you know where all the stuff is. And every so often you might rearrange the furniture and it feels a bit different for a while and that kind of thing. And then one day you, I don't know, you slip through a doorway that you hadn't seen before and suddenly you're in the sunlight. And the light's beaming down on you, and you feel the full force of connection to life, and loads of those, the walls, the kind of maze of your habitual perceptual reality seem not to be there, and you can breathe deeply and you feel completely settled in your own skin and you can see clearly. And you get a glimpse of what it is that's possible for you, what it is that's calling you. And what often happens is as you start to move towards it, you seem to run into that old house again with all its obstacles and fears and habitual stuff. And the way I often think about it is those early glimpses of the principles, it's like you've walked into an internal courtyard in the habitual, you've stepped out of your habitual thinking and you've found this beautiful protected space where you feel connected to all of life. But where you feel called towards, it isn't in the courtyard. It's out there in the world, like it's out there in the wholeness of the world. And some of the steps that you feel guided to take to get you there, they require you to go back through the house. They require you to go back through some of those uncomfortable corridors and cross thresholds of old beliefs and habits and fears in order to get where it is that life's calling you. And so when we ask the question, is it possible to create what you want to while staying in a beautiful feeling? Looks to me like that beautiful feeling is the most important thing you've got. Like it's the truest compass. And you can trust that it's there, even when you can't see, hear, or feel it. Like the most important thing, it looks to me, is where are you making your decisions from? Which one are you Which one are you putting your weight on? Which one are you taking to be legitimate, to be the source of valid information? And which state? Yeah, which one do you trust?
Mm. Yeah, I love that you put it that way, McDevitt. I often say it seems to me like the two most valuable things a person can discover is how experience is created and who we really are. And from where I sit anyway, is that when we're in that beautiful feeling, what we're experiencing is what it feels like to be you, free from your insecurities and that sort of thing. And this is just a way of saying it, but like Sid Banks was once asked, what even is reality anyway? And he said, reality is a divine illusion suspended in the boundaries of time, space, and matter. And what that suggests to me is that who you really are is before this world of time, space, and matter. Who you really are is that creative power behind life, the wisdom and intelligence behind life. And that beautiful feeling is the feeling of falling awake from who you're not, so you can bask in the truth of who you really are. In another recording, I heard Sid say that the key is to identify with that instead of who you think you are. And my sense is that when we spend some time in the knowing of that and the feeling of that, we get guidance of what our heart knows, because this is just my way of saying it. Your ego, your personality, your conditioning, however you want to describe it, it is a subject matter expert on the past, everything that's already happened. Okay? It doesn't know anything about the future. It is absolute. It says it does. It claims to know all kinds of things about the future, but doesn't know anything at all about the future. Your heart, which is another way of saying who you really are, which is another way of saying the truth of your being, it knows what the future is. It knows what's possible for you. It knows what you're here for. It knows what you're here on the planet for. Like, it has a reason for having you here. And so it'll guide you in directions that look mental to the ego. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes the ego's like, oh, okay, I can live with that. But that'll happen like in a very real way. Your heart wants to take you on an adventure, and your ego wants you to stay home. But your heart knows that you carry your home with you. McDevitt, is there anything more you want to say on that first question?
I'd love to hear from people soon, actually. Just thinking. There's one thing I want to just kind of underline in case it's not obvious, which is, in my experience, for a lot of us, it can be really hard to go for what we want, to even know what it is we want. And it can be hard to create something when that's the kind of lens we've got on it. Like, often we've been schooled or conditioned, that it's selfish to have what we want, that it's going to be at someone else's expense, you know, all that sort of thing. And so to me, like a really important thing to realize is that it's no accident that each of us came here with our particular enthusiasms and quirks and particular ways of seeing the world that might seem out of step with other people's, particular processes, particular preferences, particular, you know, oddities and weirdnesses and whatever it might be. Like, it's clear to me that that's no accident. So to me, to know that those kind of that are each of us, our particular essence, our particular qualities of being, which to me exist in layers like far deeper than the personality. Like it's part of what we came here bearing. It's our particular fractal of this universal consciousness. Like to know that that's needed by life, that it's got a place, like we've each got a particular place in the weave, and that there's an intelligence behind that, like something far greater than anything we can plot or conceive of. To me, that that just changes it completely. And then to know that the particular ways in which we're needed by life and our deepest gladness, fulfillment, sense of aliveness, that they're coincident. Like that in following those deepest nudges and heart's longings, we're actually fulfilling the need that life has for us. That just changes it completely to me. You know, it's not about, you know, it's the difference between trying to make something of ourselves and realizing we already are something. Like there's nothing we need to make of ourselves. It's more about uncovering what's already there to be found, and you know, speaking and stepping and acting that into being.
Yeah, I love that, Emma. And I know we want to hear from people, but it seemed to me that you segued into the second question, which is, does it even make sense to follow your heart's call as the world swirls with uncertainty? I'm guessing everyone here has noticed that things are a bit full on at the moment. But what I heard in what you just said is, not only does it make sense that you are precisely what life needs at this time, that who you are with your own unique perspectives and gifts and sensitivities and desires and hopes and dreams are precisely what life requires at this stage in our evolution.
Yeah, that's definitely how it looks to me. And I don't know, it's worth asking the question really, like when things seem uncertain, is that a time where it makes sense to kind of double down on inner knowing, on wisdom and intuition, or is it a time to turn away from it? And I'm not saying anything about what each person should do, but it can be valuable to notice which of those we tend to fall into.
Mm-hmm.
And this may be very, this may be particular to the way I see the world, but to me, it doesn't look like a gamble to bet on those nudges, on intuition, on acting in alignment with that deepest guidance. That doesn't look like a gamble. It looks to me way more of a gamble to sacrifice alignment and acting in accordance with my deepest truth, as a kind of bet on what might keep me safer, or what direction the world might go in, or all that sort of thing. That looks a way riskier proposition to me.
And I have a lot of personal experience of making that bet and then being punished in the medium to long term for making it.
Yeah. To me, to choose out of trusting like life's instructions based on my mind's guesses of what way the world's going to go, it's like choosing out of the present moment. It's like choosing out of purpose and fulfillment now and hoping that that my horse comes in later or something. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, love what you're saying. Emma, you said you'd like to hear from people. What would you like to hear from them?
I'd love to hear you. I'd love to hear, like, if people already have something that they're a sense of what they're called to, that they may have been pressing the snooze button on. I'd love to hear about that, and I'd love to hear what's been getting in the way.
Go on.
They're my suggestions to you, but feel free.
I think they're both great. I'd also just love to hear if people have got questions, because it seems to me that this topic that we're exploring may be, I mean, everyone, you guys might all be like, yeah, of course, this makes total sense. But I can imagine that for some people, they're like, hang on a second, but what about whatever? And so I can say to you from my perspective, and I know I speak for Emma in this, though pretty much nothing else, but this is that there are no sacred cows in this. Like we're not trying, neither of us are trying to toe a party line or to say something in a way that's principles compliant or anything like that. If there's stuff that doesn't make sense or that doesn't add up or that you got questions, we'd love to hear it, because I trust that the nudge to ask those questions has their own reasons for existing as well. So yeah, bring it on, whatever's showing up for you, whatever you wanting to ask or explore, as well as what Emma said about, say your two questions again, McDevitt.
I'd love to hear if there's something that you, like a direction you felt called, or something that you would love to create that you may have been pushing the snooze button on until now. And if you're happy to share what it is. And also what's been getting in the way.
Or just type something into chat so we know the chat's working. Because I know sometimes it can feel a little on the spot, especially if you're the first person to have spoken or typed anything in or anything like that. But another question that might get us to the same place is, what were you curious to explore coming to this thing today? Because Emma and I, obviously, we've been talking for about half an hour, but what is it that had you go, yeah, I'm gonna spend some time on this? Go ahead, Vanessa.
Well, I don't have an answer to your specific question. I can tell you about something that happened recently. I was blocked on taking an action that I knew I was going to take, and all of a sudden that block was gone. And it was something very sad happened, but that unblocked me. And what it was is I'm moving. And I couldn't make that step for over a year, although I knew it was the right step. And all of a sudden this thing happened and the way was clear. And now I'm in the process of that move now. And it was what my heart wanted to do. It was just waiting for the right time. And what I find interesting is I struggled against that block for so long, where now looking back, and this just happened like in the last couple weeks, I see that I didn't need to struggle. I just needed to realize that's what my heart wants. And when the time is right, I will know it.
Yeah, I love that. Is it, Vanessa, don't let me put words in your mouth, but is it your sense looking back that it happened at the right time?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I struggled against it for a year. I feel like I wasted all that energy.
I guess that's one of the ways we learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Vanessa. Janet says, I've been channeling poetry for some time. They're meditative, hypnotic, and current. I share with a small group through sense. I'm called need to open to this wider, to open this wider. I'm resistant because of certain channels to share on. I have pressed pause, I know. Emma McDevitt, do you have any questions for Janet about that?
Just finding Janet. Well, the first thing I wanted to say, actually, and then I'll see if I've got any questions. Thank you very much for sharing it, Janet. What immediately comes to mind is that we pretty much always know what it is we're being asked to do or being called to do, and often we can you know, we do all sorts of things. We can busy ourselves solving other problems rather than acknowledge that we know what the next step is. But the thing that I sort of didn't spell out when I was talking about the house and, you know, sharing that house and courtyard metaphor is if who we truly are is you know, is pure consciousness, is whole, is undamageable, unbreakable, and is that creative force. And we're a kind of a unique flavor of that. Like we've each got our gifts to give and our purpose to be here. Then anywhere that we are experiencing resistance or we feel stuck or we're struggling, it looks to me like it's not so much a problem, this obstacle to our expression. It's like a benevolent mirror showing us something, showing us where there's value in looking, like where we've haven't seen the truth of who we are yet. It's you know, if we want to treat it this way, we can see it as something generous, just showing us where it is that we haven't seen, that we are whole and that we have everything we need. And I'd go even further in a way, in that it looks to me like, you know, like this whole game of life, if we want to play it this way, is really the game of coming home to the truth of who we really are, you know, of being our fullest expression of that in the world, of, you know, of being that beacon, just being fully ourselves. And so those places we feel blocked, really, you know, the material aspects of life, it's almost like that's just the chessboard we get to play the game on. That's just nudging us in all these different ways to see the truth of who we are. So that's what came to mind immediately.
I really like that, McDevitt. And the thing that struck me as I was listening to you, and I know my way of talking about this is excessively masculine, but as I see it, the obstacles are actually the places we're stuck or resisting or whatever. Those things are fuel for our transformation. They're the very stuff, because how it, and some of you may
Burn
have,
them,
pardon me?
burn them
Burn
down.
them, burn them. They like a fire
Torch them and
feeds.
stamp on them. And
This is how you win. A fire feeds on fuel, and obstacles are the fuel for that. But a more neutral metaphor, a way of thinking about it. And this is a diagram that I really like that McDevitt invented. At the bottom of that triangle is the formless energy behind all things, the wisdom and intelligence of life. We might call it the principles. We might call it the allness. We might call it the implicate order. We might call it God. And then in the middle section, we've got, and because it's formless energy, it's everywhere. It's everywhere and nowhere, baby. It's all at once. Well, in the middle, we've got the spark of that resides at the heart of our being, at the heart of our consciousness. Like if you're having an experience right now, that's the spark of that totality that's present in you. And that's in some traditions called your soul or your heart. And that contains your gifts and your guidance and all that sort of stuff. And then at the top is our ego, our conditioning, our personality, and that sort of thing. And it's not like you shouldn't have a personality, you shouldn't have an ego. It's here to be in the service of your spirit, right? But if you're anything like me, it's a bit fucking shonky. And then the journey of waking up to who you really are is a journey of bringing that more and more fully into alignment with the truth of your being. And that takes, in my experience, that takes a little time. It happens more quickly for some people than others, but it's a journey, and the increment that I see moving it into alignment is us getting our inspiration about where we want to go, and then overcoming or moving through or transcending those chunks of obstacle material so we can transform. Feel free to normalize that, McDevitt.
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Nice.
I would like to just read something briefly, if that's all right.
Please.
So Bill Plotkin, who writes brilliantly about the relationship between what he calls soul and spirit, he says, by soul, I mean the vital, mysterious, and wild core of our individual selves, an essence unique to each person, qualities found in layers of the self much deeper than our personalities. By spirit, I mean the single great and eternal mystery that permeates and animates everything in the universe, and yet transcends all. Ultimately, each soul exists as an agent for spirit. And he talks about David White's images for soul. And he uses phrases like the one line already written inside you, the shape that waits in the seed of you to grow and spread its branches against a future sky, or your own truth at the center of the image you were born with. And the reason I'm talking about it a bit is, I think until we really recognize that we're needed, like that we have, that those gifts and qualities of being that we carry are, they're life's gifts to itself. Like it's not about, are we enough? It's we've been given what we've been given because there is a place in the weave for it. And I think if we try and operate without acknowledging that fact, it's almost like a stool with only 2 legs, is how it looks to me. So I just wanted to say that.
And to underline that fact that needs to be acknowledged, if I was to say, it would be that you're here for a reason. You belong here. You're valuable. You may not know consciously what that reason is. It may be something that you need to discover. I'll give you an example. I was on a retreat back in 2008. So as an NLP trainer, I'd stumbled across the principles and dismissed it a couple of times. So it wasn't a principles retreat. And I'm 3 or 4 days into this retreat, and I had a sudden vision of me sitting by the ocean with a small group of people, teaching them and sharing from a place of peace and security and love and well-being. And it felt amazing, but I wasn't experiencing that for myself at the time. But that became a beacon that guided me and brought me to the principles 18 months later or something. So there, my heart knew what I wanted long before I was consciously aware of it. Go ahead, Ellen. Nice to see you again.
Hello, nice to see you too. You were asking what's in the way of me living the life that my heart wants. And for me, my dilemma is that the more I seem to learn about what I am and all the possibilities that exist, the more ideas I have of what I want to do. And I have so many ideas that it's like I don't know where to look. And so there's so many possibilities, so I don't get started.
I get it. Can anyone else relate to that? Okay, interesting. McDevitt, do you want to say something about nudges?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. And I can relate too. And the image I got as you were speaking was almost like, you know, if you had a hose and it had been turned off while the pressure build up, and then suddenly it's open, and it's almost like a lifetime's worth of inspiration and ideas and possibilities as just kind of singing through you. And the first thing that sprang to mind is that first of all, that's wonderful, and second, that it's completely okay. You know, often when we first come across the principles, there's a period where there's almost like a rebalancing. For some people, if they've been just pushing themselves and making themselves do things they don't want to do and that aren't aligned, they have a period where it just doesn't make sense to them to do, you know, to take a lot of action, because there's almost like a decompression or decontamination needed from an old way of being. And the sense I got was this might be something similar where the pipes opened and all the ideas are flooding through, and that it's okay if you don't know which one to choose right now, because the ones that persist will be trustworthy. But the other thing I wanted to say is that in my experience, navigating by intuition, by those kind of inner nudges, is quite different from the way we might be used to, navigating or being motivated or deciding what to do and in what order. And it seems to me that it's very much the intelligence that guides us has the full picture, but we don't necessarily. And it seems to operate like a real-time system where it gives you a nudge or guidance on a need-to-know basis, which is kind of like one nudge or one breadcrumb at a time. And so even though our minds can see all sorts of possibilities spinning off in different directions and all that sort of thing, it's my experience generally that if we get quiet and we kind of root down into that knowing, we usually know what's the next thing to do. And often what happens is our mind then runs away with where we think it's going and what the step is after that and all that sort of thing. But actually, it tends to be, at least in my experience, that when we're in touch with our knowing, we get the next step. And that might make sense to us, or it might seem quite indirect or like a detour from where we thought we were going. But if we trust it, the next step is revealed, and the next step. And that the idea that we have to commit to something just because we've had a nudge in that direction, we just kind of start to feel a bit freer from that, and realize that each step shows us something. It moves us to a new place where our perspective, where the view's slightly different, and then we check in again and we tend to know what to do next. And for all I know, it may be that you'll find, that guidance will lead you unerringly in one particular direction, or it may be that what's exactly right for you is to try different things and experience different things. And I think a big part of there's something in giving yourself the freedom to follow what you feel called to without feeling like it has to lead all the way to the finish line, or or worrying about missing something, because Michael Meade has this wonderful expression: your calling keeps calling. Like, it's not going to go anywhere, much like the truth of our being. Like, even a step in the wrong direction sort of takes us there in the end.
Yeah. McDevitt, I had a nudge as I was listening to you. I noticed we're coming up to the hour, and do you remember that thing we talked about this morning for the 90 days that we hadn't talked to Sheila about yet, but we were going to tell her before this call?
Yeah, we
and
did.
Then we didn't.
Yeah.
I think it's worth you saying a little bit about that and retreats.
Okay.
Before we wrap up.
So when I was thinking about the retreat we'll be doing with Sheila later this year, one of the things that occurred to me, because I was thinking that the thing that I would most love for people who attend that retreat is that, like, we know that people will get an absolute, deepest immersion in that space of experiencing the truth of their being, and the truths they see about what's for them from there. And the thing I would most love for people who attend is that when they leave, they're able to carry that away with them, to continue to be that beacon. And what occurred to me is that, in a way, something like a retreat, it's such a hugely transformational experience. It's in some ways it's like a vision quest or something, where like the layers of thought and habitual reality and sense of like old identity are shed or postponed. Is that the right word? For a time, and we see more truly what's for us. But actually, after things like vision quests, the thing that makes the biggest difference as to whether the person goes on to bring what they've seen fully into their lives is the integration process afterwards. So while we haven't sort of figured it out exactly yet, the sense I had that I spoke to Jamie about was to have follow-up sessions at some frequency for a period of about 90 days after the retreat, to ensure sort of maximum bringing of the fullness of what each person has experienced into their life, world, communities, whatever it is they get the memo about what they're here to do and be. So that's what we meant to talk to Sheila about beforehand.
Is that okay with you, Sheila?
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, because Emma and I are in a very fortunate position, which is we get to kind of pick and choose what we do. So we decided for this retreat, we're maxing it at 12 people. We've got a couple of our team members joining us, and Sheila's going to be there as well, but it's 12 participants. And the thing we love about working with a small group is everyone can get one-on-one time, and we get to put our focus on doing what we love, is helping people transform in alignment with their being. So my sense is, in a group like this, there will probably be one or two of you here who already kind of know this is the right thing for you. And if it is, then just reach out to Sheila and she'll sort you out. I want to be respectful of time. I don't know how Spanish you are when it comes to endings, Sheila. What's your sense?
Depends on the day. But yeah, it's a great time to finish.
Well, I'm happy to stick around if people have questions or anything.
I can stick around for 5 or 10 minutes, yeah. And I have placed the link into the chats for people
thanks.
and have a look at the page.
Yeah, really looking forward to this. Emma and I both loved the one we did last autumn, so it's going to be great to be back with you. Does anyone have any questions about any of the stuff we've been exploring? Thanks, Mikey. If not, then we can call it a day. But if people have got questions or comments, or just, again, my thing about no sacred cows, just like anything that you're not sure about or that doesn't quite add up, or that you're like, oh, I'd really like to see something about such and such. Bring it on. We're at your service. All right. Shall we call it, McDevitt?
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Lovely to spend this hour with you.
Thanks, Sheila. Thanks for organizing it, Sheila. Bye.
Bye.